Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I want to start the video off with two separate apologies, the first of which being my voice. I attended Austin City Limits Music Festival this weekend and Paramore was there, so you know I had to sing my voice out. This is unfortunately what my voice is going to look like probably for the next few videos. I just got to deal with it. You got to deal with it too. Sorry. The second apology that I have is the long gap in between my videos. I haven't been home for the last month and a half, and I had the full intention of filming videos, but it just didn't end up happening, so I apologize for that. With that being said, I feel like I picked a pretty good month and a half to go on a little bit of a break because it doesn't seem like a whole lot has been going on in the movie world, at least not with new releases, unless you want to talk about Don't Worry Darling drama, and I'm not in the business of talking about that. I did see a few movies while I wasn't making videos. I believe I saw 3,000 Years of Longing, Don't Worry Darling, and See How They Run. Maybe I'll just compile those into some kind of hodgepodge review video in the next couple days or weeks, I don't know, whatever. But today I'm coming back to talk about the box office report from this weekend because there are a few things that I thought were really interesting that I wanted to talk about. The first of which being Halloween Ends opening up to $41 million in the domestic box office. This is interesting to me for a few reasons. The first of which being that this franchise is not going anywhere. I don't care if you title your movie Halloween Ends, Halloween The Final Chapter, Halloween This Is Our Final Movie, all very, very catchy film titles, might I add. I don't care what you call this movie. This franchise is not going anywhere. Sure, we may not get another movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen, in it, but Michael Myers has plenty of movies ahead of him. There will likely be a gap in between now and the next movie, probably like 10 years. I don't know. How long did it take them to reboot Halloween with Halloween 2018? Like 18, 20 years? Yeah, like 16 years, probably a gap like that, maybe even shorter right now, because clearly this franchise still has legs and people are willing to go to the theater. It's even more impressive that it made this money whenever you consider the fact that the movie has been getting terrible reviews from critics and fans. Now, I personally am not a fan of the Halloween franchise aside from the first one. I watched Halloween 2018 and I realized that most people enjoyed it. I just didn't, but it's just a personal preference thing. I'm not really one for the slasher movie, so that movie just isn't for me. I skipped out on Halloween Kills since I didn't like the first one, and I just don't really enjoy the genre. It did seem like for the fans of movies like that, they didn't like Halloween Kills as much. But they were willing to give Halloween Ends another shot, but unfortunately it seems like the filmmakers fumbled the bag on this one. Now for the critics, it's currently sitting at 39% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the really bad statistic for me is the 57% from the fans. I mean, think about it. There are people who love this franchise, people that have been watching it since the original came out in 78, people that continue to go to the theater for the 100 sequels they've made since the original film. And they went to the theater and a little bit less than half of them hate it. Okay, maybe they don't hate it, they just didn't like it, but you hear what I'm saying. It's not exactly a crowd pleaser. But look, this is show business. If this franchise is showing that even with a bad film, that they can keep pumping out movies and people will show up to the theater, they're not gonna stop. I mean, what this reminds me of is Jurassic World Dominion earlier in the year. In the marketing campaign for that, they were touting it as the end of the franchise. Well, that movie made $1 billion, and now the talks are all about the next installment, and that was just the last hurrah for this cast of characters. Dinosaurs aren't going anywhere there, especially whenever you make $1 billion, and Michael Myers isn't going anywhere. Again, it's going to be several years until the next installment, I feel like, but this is not the last time we've seen Michael Myers. But hey, if this means that another filmmaker can come in and give their take on Michael Myers and make a slasher movie that could maybe appeal to someone like me who doesn't typically like those kind of movies, then I'm all for it. Now, keeping in line with the horror genre, I want to talk about Smile. Smile to me is very interesting. I thought that the original trailer for this was absolutely terrible. I remember sitting in the theater for the Black Phone, and this was before the full-length trailer got released, and it was just like a 10-second snippet of someone smiling, and I just thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. I thought that this movie was just one big gimmick, a come-and-go horror movie like all the rest. I think I talk about that in my fall movie preview video. I basically thought that this movie looked like a throwaway. The first full-length trailer I thought was very effective, but I still wasn't quite sold on the movie. Well, as it turns out, this is turning out to be probably the biggest horror hit of the year that I can think of. This movie, get this movie was made for $17 million, and it has made over $150 million worldwide. I mean, I'm already seeing Smile 2, Smile 3, Smile A New Age, Smile Reckoning. I can see a whole franchise happening. With the end of the Halloween franchise, we get the beginning of the Smile franchise. But yeah, Smile has actually the last few weeks been doing fantastic. It was number 1 in the box office for the previous 2 weeks. Now it drops to number 2, but it's only dropped 33%. And to me, Smile, whenever it's all said and done, is going to be the horror hit, at least box office wise, of the year. The easiest comparison is Halloween Ends that came out this weekend. That film opened up to $41 million. Smile opened up to $22 million. Now, on paper, you wouldn't be the only person to think that Halloween Ends would be the bigger hit of the franchise. But Smile is proving that whenever you make a good horror movie, it has legs in the box office. I mean, it made $22 million its opening weekend, followed up by $18 million in its second weekend. That's only an 18% drop, you guys. That is absolutely insane. And now this week it's dropped another 33%. People are going to the theater and they're saying, ooh, Halloween Ends. I heard that wasn't very good. Let's go see this little Smile movie that looks stupid. And people are actually coming out and they're enjoying it. And what comes to mind is just a huge congratulations to the filmmakers of this movie. I mean, they went out and they made a horror movie for $17 million where the gimmick is people smiling before you die. Or at least that's kind of what I've gathered from it. I haven't gone out and seen it yet. But they went out and they made that movie, 1, good, 2, a huge financial success. I'll look forward to seeing Smile 2 and all the other sequels that I'm sure are going to follow soon. And I'm sure I'm going to be sitting here in a few years talking about how they beat this franchise into the ground. But for now, let's just bask in the glory of the success of this film. Now, before I get into a couple of negative topics here, I do want to highlight The Woman King in its 5th weekend, hanging on in the top 5 of the box office, making $3 million. This movie was made for $50 million so far worldwide. It's made $75 million, so it probably needs to make a little bit more to be financially profitable for the studio. But this is a movie that didn't open up with a huge box office return. In fact, whenever I looked at the opening weekend numbers, I thought that this movie was going to be a huge flop, which is unfortunate. I believe it has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone that goes and sees it seems to really enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of Viola Davis, one of the best actors working in Hollywood today. So I didn't expect this movie to end up turning a profit, but now it's showing that since this movie's good, and quite frankly, the box office hasn't had too many good new releases lately, that people are recommending this to their friends and people are going out to see it. So now, who knows, maybe after this upcoming weekend, it can remain in the top 5, make a few more $1 million, and just barely make a profit for the studio. Again, I don't know exactly what the margin is there, since that $50 million figure doesn't include the marketing costs, but I do think it's going to be close, but they should be able to make it. And I'm just someone who likes seeing good movies get rewarded in the box office, so congrats to The Woman King. Hopefully it can keep pushing forward a little bit, make the studio a little bit of money, and get Viola Davis her next leading gig. Alright, and then to close this video on kind of a low point, I do want to talk about a couple of disappointing movies here in Lyle Lyle Crocodile as well as Amsterdam. First, I'll cover Lyle Lyle Crocodile. Whenever I saw the social media ads for this movie, I thought it looked ridiculous. Full transparency, I haven't seen the movie yet. I do want to go see it, but just the idea of Shawn Mendes playing this crocodile, hearing the voice come out of the crocodile's mouth, to me just has never meshed. But what's unfortunate is I would watch the social media ads so many times that it would just keep getting pushed into my feed, since the algorithm saw that I was interacting with the ad, watching a lot of it. So I've seen ads for Lyle Lyle Crocodile non-stop for like the last 3 weeks. It's been stupid. But anyway, Lyle Lyle Crocodile is in its second week, and so far worldwide it's made $26 million, and its budget was $50 million, and that doesn't include marketing costs, like I said before, so they probably need to get around $75 million in order to turn a profit. Lyle Lyle Crocodile is not going to get there. This movie's a flop for the studio. Very sad to see my boy Javier Bardem in a movie that doesn't make any money. He's one of the best actors in the world. What's weird is I have seen this movie get positive reviews. It's not a total garbage fire. I believe it's in the red, meaning good, in Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's like in the 60s or something. I want to go check this out myself, and if I do, I'll go ahead and make a video, and if I like it, then I have egg on my face, whatever. But Lyle Lyle Crocodile right now is looking like a flop for the studio, which is unfortunate. The writers for the movie are the same ones, or at least the songwriters are the same guys from The Greatest Showman. So at the very least, maybe if you go and see this movie, you'll get a couple of earworms stuck in your head. Weirdly enough, it's in the most theaters of any movie in the country right now. It's in over 4,300 theaters, and for context, Halloween Ends just came out and it's in like 3,900. I am confused why Lyle Lyle Crocodile is in so many theaters, probably because it's a kid's movie. I would imagine that thing's gonna drop like 2,000 theaters weekend over weekend, if not more. One bright spot, though, that I do want to highlight is it only dropped 35% weekend over weekend, so that's actually really good. Usually you would expect it to be over 50%, around 60%, but hey, 35% isn't too bad. It wasn't working with a fantastic opening weekend. It made $7 million this weekend, so very solid for that film. Again, I need to go see it. But with that being said, I want to move on to Amsterdam, because this is showing to be probably the biggest disaster of at least the fall right now. I would have to look at a list of films released on the year to say confidently that it's the biggest disaster of the year. It probably isn't. It's probably Moonfall. But yeah, Amsterdam, the budget was $80 million, and I need to look at the number again. It has made $18 million worldwide. Not good. And I believe the Rotten Tomatoes score is in the 30% range. So this is a massive disappointment, at least for me, because this is the movie that was directed and written by David O. Russell. He has previously directed The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle, Joy, I Heart Huckabees. This guy's resume is stacked, and this is his first movie in 7 years. It's starring Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, with a bunch of supporting actors in it that are notable. I talked about it in my fall movie preview as being a award sort of movie. Like, very confidently, I believe I said that this thing was going to be nominated for Screenplay of the Year. That is the last time I make any sort of claim like that about a movie that hasn't been released yet, because that is so the opposite of what's going to happen for this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets nominated for several Razzies, given sort of the hype around it before it was released, as opposed to the reception of it now that it's out. I mean, I don't understand how this movie turned out to be bad. It had all the ingredients to be a fantastic movie, and yet now it's sitting not only as a critical failure, but as a box office failure. So this makes me think about if David O. Russell can get a movie produced for this sort of budget again, at least for his next movie. I would imagine not. I mean, it would be different if he released a movie last year and it made $200 million, and this movie just so happened to flop, fall on deaf ears. But it would even be different if this movie was good and it just wasn't financially successful. But this thing is showing to be a huge disaster across the board. You can't just go on a 7-year hiatus Be a good director, go on a 7-year hiatus, and then come out with a movie with a budget of $80 million, have it make no money, and then have it be a huge critical flop. It's really unfortunate, at least for me, because I love all of David O. Russell's previous films. So it's really disappointing. I want to go see it for myself, but by all accounts, it seems like this movie is pretty hard to sit through. I don't know. I feel like I just gotta stomach it and go. Part of me wants to wait for it to be on streaming at this point. I guess I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know if I end up going to go see this thing. Man, I hate ending videos on a low note. So, you know what? I'm going to end it on a high. Top Gun Maverick is still in the top 10 somehow after 21 weeks, and I believe it's on demand right now. People are still going to the theaters to go see this thing. It's not making a ton of it's not making a ton of money. It's just below 700 grand, but hey, it's in the top 10 still. So, yay, Top Gun Maverick. We're ending this video on a good note. That's all I got today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw here, go ahead and subscribe for more. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.